It is the morning after. What is the to-do list for the police of Boston and national authorities?
Well, they have an active security incident, so the perpetrator of this attack is still at large, presumably, and could conceivably carry out another attack. And so that is just an unacceptable situation. It increases the urgency of finding that person. Finding the person or persons who did this, explaining why they did it, how they carried it out, is the absolute top priority of every layer of government right now. And you have a full court press going on in Boston, supported by a full court press in Washington.
Richard, we saw the ad hoc nature of this yesterday. We go to the morning after the FBI will speak. There will be security efforts. Do you just assume, as Sarah, you mentioned earlier, there's something about April 15th? There's something about a protest. If it is a domestic event, is there something about the calendar here?
I don't assume it, but it will be one investigative premise, and that's what the law enforcement community will call this. They'll have several investigative premises, and they will have task forces organized around them whose job it is to pursue that line of inquiry. But at this stage, at least in what's been released publicly, we have no idea of what the motive was. But it is possible it was a right-wing or anti-tax extremist. There is some history of violence there, and so the dates do matter.
April 19th is the date.
Of the Oklahoma City bombing.
Oklahoma City.
Yeah, and Scarlett, I think we should make a distinction. We don't know yet if it's a domestic or an international
We don't know
event.
a lot of things right now. What we do know, though, is that the governor has pressed on this idea that the city of Boston should return to normal. Airports, for instance, are operating once again. Is this a surprise that they're able to get back to business so quickly?
No, everyone wants to get back to business after this happens. I mean, there's certain things that can't come back to business, the immediate crime scene. But, you know, the blast effects were contained. The city is still intact, is viable. This is not like 9/11, and they do want to return to normalcy.
Richard, I remember so clearly after September 11th, many friends of mine that would not go in subways in New York City. There is a collateral damage here to the people of Boston. How do you deal with that?
It's difficult, and it will vary a lot by person. I mean, there are some people who are just really terrified. I mean, that's the essence of terrorism. It has an impact beyond the immediate physical damage of the site. It affects the psychology of people who are watching this, even if they are far from the scene and face no additional threat themselves. And so that's part of this tactic that they're used by these perpetrators, is the desire to create that feeling in so many people who just watch this. Right. And you do your best with them. Sometimes it's not addressable. Small children, for instance, really are not equipped to cope with these extremely low probability events.
9:30 a.m. we expect a briefing from the FBI. How likely is it that we will get more information, more answers from this investigation today?
We'll get a few from the FBI. The FBI is not known for particularly informative press conferences. They are very careful in what they say and how they say it. These are not elected officials. These are career investigators, and they do not want to say anything that could prejudice a future jury trial if they were to imply something that turns out not to be true. They will be very, very cautious in that, and mostly what they're trying to do is show the American people that they're on the job working it and doing everything they can.
Right. Terror is part of geography, isn't it?
Yes, it is, and they will typically exploit the geography and the gatherings of people that they know are coming. And so the thing about large events like this is you know exactly where the crowds are going to be, you know where the media is going to be, and they're able to exploit that.
I thought the time of day here, I think I mentioned this to you yesterday with Trish Regan, the time of day here from my experience was absolutely, this is somebody that knew what they were doing.
Yeah, I think that's right. They gave some thought to, they studied when the start time was, when the people would be crossing the lines. There was an interesting graphic that showed something like a very large percentage of the total runners ran plus or minus 30 minutes from this moment.